feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the post-show wrap-up of the Shrimp Tank, coming to you from the virtual Whedon Unleashed studio. I'm Brad Berger, along with my co-host Dan Whedon. Our guest today, Carly Tizzano of Masterpeace Organizing. We just had an intriguing and fun conversation with Carly. To listen to the entire podcast, visit shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle, or now through iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can still subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. We're always interested in your feedback, so please do not forget to rate us. So Carly, one of the things that we talked a little bit about was procrastination as far as organization and organizing. What do you think is the reason that people procrastinate when it comes to organizing their space or their home?
I think there's a lot of things that can contribute. One of the big ones is not thinking they have the time. Another is just not thinking they maybe have the skills or expertise. And another one I see a lot is kind of this all or nothing mindset of, it's not worth going through a drawer if I can't go through the entire kitchen, or it's not worth going through one box in the garage if we can't pull everything out and get it all done. And so while I can understand that perspective, I think a lot of people really just need that kick in the pants to just start. And that's often kind of the biggest hurdle for procrastinators, because it's so much easier to maybe go and do something else where they feel like they can get it all done, or they do have enough time and they do know what they're supposed to do. But that's why sometimes people need a little bit of extra help to kind of get the ball rolling, and sometimes even see them all the way through the process.
Great.
Carly, one of the most fascinating parts of the podcast, so everybody's going to have to go watch the entire podcast, was our conversation on sustainability. And of course, sustainability can come up in an environmental situation and maybe in how you store things, but you take it a little bit further. You talk about sustainability in life. So not only and from an environmental standpoint, but from your fitness, your health, your relationships. Can you talk a little bit more about that here?
Yeah, and the more I kind of read and research, the more I see it's all so very interconnected, kind of being sustainable in all different areas of our life. And one example is like, the key to me, I think, of sustainability is the fact that it is sustainable into the future and long-term, kind of with that long-term vision. Because you have some movements like going zero waste or becoming a vegan, and those are great movements. And as I've kind of learned more, I definitely see myself ending up in those camps one day. But they're so hard for some people to kind of grasp onto, as opposed to looking at the things we can do to be sustainable into the long run is a really powerful position to come from. And I think food is a really interesting way to kind of pull all of that together. So something that I've been experimenting with lately is intermittent fasting. So I don't do kind of like the 4-hour eating window. I've just kind of stretched it to, like, I don't eat for 15 or 16, sometimes 17 hours, and just try to eat within whatever's left in that given day. And so that's been good because I eat less food that I probably don't really need. So I feel better in my body. I'm also not consuming kind of nutrients and resources from the world that probably could go to someone else. On another side, I've been trying to eat a lot less meat and dairy because I know the impact that those industries have environmentally, kind of really not eco-friendly. And so I'm not ready to kind of chop those off altogether, but I've definitely been a lot more aware of what I'm eating. And that too has made me feel a lot better. Even down to kind of how I store foods. Like when I bring home a load from the grocery store, I want to make sure that even the way I put it away is sustainable, kind of my organizational systems, like those are going to last in the long term, and that I always wash the fresh fruit and put it away, or these things I don't wash, but they go in this container so they last longer. And then the lasting longer part goes back to the environmentally friendly part, because I'm then taking less things that are going to be thrown away. I was just reading about how 30 to 40% of the food we produce gets thrown away, and that's just not sustainable for anyone in the long run. But eating that 30 or 40% ourselves probably isn't sustainable in the long run either for our health. So it's just kind of a balance and a balancing act. Like we talked about, it's different for everyone, and it's kind of a fun journey to experiment and see where that's going to take you.
So Carla, we know that you have a blog, and you've got a lot of tips and techniques and tricks, if you will, to get people on track. What are some of your top tips or suggestions that you have? And maybe it goes back to that original question I asked of people who face oftentimes what I call overwhelm, right? They overwhelm, and the result of that is just complete avoidance.
Well, I think a lot of those people who kind of are in that procrastination, overwhelm mindset, they're kind of the people I see who need the most coaching, because they have to get out of that really so that they can start and realize that deciding to procrastinate and deciding to be in overwhelm, like those are just choices that we can decide to move past and then move on to the things we want to do. And that's a big part of helping our clients to live the lives that they want, because the lives they want, I highly doubt have a lot of procrastination and overwhelm in them. So there's a lot of kind of little tips and tricks you can do, like the particular hangers and having the right kind of bins. But kind of the bigger stuff are getting outside help if you need outside help. And that can be your neighbor or your mom, or hiring someone like me, because I'm sure there's someone you know who loves to organize and who has a real talent for it. So sometimes the people just kind of need that outside help and outside accountability. Sometimes people just need someone to say, well, I don't think you could get organized. And that's all that they need to kind of get going. And some people need to do the research and put the time in to kind of learn what they think is going to be the best tip and trick. And then that gives them the motivation and excitement to implement those things. And pretty much everyone, though, just needs to get started. And it's okay if it's just a drawer. It's okay if it's just a tub. And sometimes you have a weekend and you can do the whole kitchen, and that's a really, really good feeling. But chances are, if you just tackle the one drawer, before too long, you're going to have tackled the entire kitchen, because it is really fun and really rewarding to get that stuff done.
Great.
Well, Carly, thank you for joining us today. Many people watching this have been stuck at home and are probably looking around their house and saying, I need to talk to Carly. And you do virtual work too, so you could throw that in. But how do people reach you?
You can reach me at masterpeaceorganizing.com or at Masterpiece Organizing on social media. And Masterpiece is spelled Masterpeace. And then personally, I'm at Carly Tizzano or at carlytizzano.com.
So once again, this is just a taste of what you can expect by listening to the entire podcast. Don't miss it. Visit shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle or listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. We'd love to hear from you, so please do not forget to rate us. I want to give a big thanks to all of our Shrimp Peeler sponsors and to you, our listeners and followers.
So our next episode, our next podcast is in 2 weeks. It's July 8th. So I guess, Brad, we should wish everybody a
happy 4th of July. Yeah.
4th of July, happy Independence Day, because we won't see you until that time. Lisa Kemmerling from Clear Lines Fashion Consulting. She's going to be our guest. We can't wait to talk to her. We're going to be doing it on Zoom again for sure. So catch us on Facebook, live streaming it. Or catch us here on our website. For right now, the hay is in the barn.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp